Right, Frontal Blessings. We are back with another video. Might be a little dark in this video because it's kind of dark outside and it's just the way it is. But I think you'll be all right. You can see me, you can hear me. We good. All right, before I begin, a couple quick announcements. If you want to book your 2024 yearly forecast reading, which is basically a month-by-month breakdown of what you can expect for 2024. All right. If you want to book that, shoot me an email. I do it from now until about the first week in February. If you're interested in booking that, along with any other reading, different types of readings I offer, Klepothic demonic readings, Santa Muerte readings, Egyptian oracle readings, shadow work readings, deity readings, just shoot me an email. And just specify, again, if you want the 2024 yearly forecast reading or a reading, one of the ones I just mentioned, or a spiritual consultation, shoot me an email, and I will send you information on how to book a reading or a consultation. Again, the 2024 forecast readings go from now until about the first week in February is when I cut it off, give or take, somewhere around there. Some of you guys have done it the last few years, so you know it's roughly somewhere around that time, okay? All right, also, if you are interested in signing up for classes, the classes that I do offer, I do them on Patreon. The official Primordial Chaos Patreon page is located at patreon.com/Baniti, Baniti. Tier 3 is the tier you want to join. That's the tier you want to go to. And that will give you access to the 3 private classes I do every month on Patreon for Patreon members only, and the ritual we do together as a group at the end of the month. All right. Also, when you do join the Patreon page, you don't just get access to the classes from the day you join moving forward. You also get access to over 3 years worth of content in the archives. You can take all the classes that we started taking from day one. As I said, on the Patreon page, we go in a lot more in depth. It's not just lecturing and talking. It's group work. It's rituals, spiritual work. I go in a little more in depth on the page. Well, not a little, a lot more in depth, and talk about things that I normally wouldn't talk openly about in public on YouTube. Again, the Patreon is designed for the occult left-hand path practitioner that's looking to take their spiritual path to that next level, take it up a notch, and it's work. All right, so check out the Patreon page if you're interested in signing up for the classes. Patreon.com/Baniti, Baniti, tier 3. That's the tier you want to join. All right. Also keep in mind all this new content is being uploaded to the Primordial Chaos podcast. So you can get it in audio format now if you're just hanging around the house, driving, exercising, walking, in the park, whatever. You can now listen to some of this downloaded in MP3 audio files on the Primordial Chaos podcast, which is available on Spotify and all major podcast platforms. The direct link to the podcast is in the description box of this video. Check us out also on Instagram, Primordial Chaos 9, all one word. Also on Facebook, 2 words, Primordial Chaos. I also upload all this new content to the Primordial Chaos Facebook page. Those platforms here in the YouTube, also in the community section, this is where you keep abreast of all the classes, the things that I do, stuff we got going on, events, this, that, and the other. Also, mark your calendars, October 2024, the 7th annual Journey of the Black Adept Conference. This will be year number 7. More than likely, we'll be doing it in the same spot in Hollywood, Florida. More to come on that later next year. But just mark your calendar down for sure. 3rd, 4th week in October. That I can tell you 100% for sure. To kind of plan as I get closer to the event, I can give you the exact date. But you definitely can plan, as we do every year, late October. All right. Other than that, kind of want to get into the aforementioned topic. I know I've talked a lot about shadow work. I know I've talked a lot about conquering your fears lately, which is dealing with shadow work, but also uncovering the master within. Okay? We hear this term, go within, look within, And though these are sayings, I don't want to say they're cliches, there's truth to it. Because as I've said a million times before, this is an inward journey out, not an outward journey in. The problem with a lot of religions and dogmas and spiritual paths and systems and this, that, and the other, they're constantly teaching you to look outside yourself for salvation, right? And the helping hand that you're looking for, as I said before, is at the end of your arm. In order to find God and the divine, this is something even prior before we were on this path, regardless, let's just be honest with ourselves, okay? We always were looking for that divine supreme being, right? A lot of us have always been called to some path of spirituality, but as I said, this path, you're chosen for this path. Many are called, few are chosen, okay? And there's truth to that statement. Yes, we hear that statement. But many are called to the path of the occult, but only a few are chosen. I can tell you this firsthand. Okay? The reason why I say that, obvious, it speaks for itself. As I've said before, it's always the rah-rah ones. I call them, the rah-rah, gung-ho. I'm so, black magic, left-hand path, dark, and I'm this and I'm that, and I'm so, I work with Kali and I work with demons and blah, blah, they're the first motherfuckers to fade off, as I said a million times before. This is why I tell people, you have other spiritual systems and religions that go around trying to convert people. We don't do that on the left-hand path of the occult. And this is why, one of the main reasons why I say you must be chosen to walk this path by the enlightened ones, by the gods, the goddesses, the demons, the spirits, whatever you want to call it. You're chosen. Now, being called is not the same thing as being chosen. A lot of people are called. That's what the statement means. Many are called, few are chosen. So sometimes the calling can be a bit confusing because you think out the gate that this is for you, and then you find out as you start to navigate through the path, well, maybe this isn't for me. Okay? So yes, a lot of people are called to this path. A lot of people lay claim to being a left-hand path, a cult practitioner, a dark sorceress, a vampire magician, a black magician, a black addict, all these different titles that identify a person with being on some type of dark spiritual path. Now, I don't really care for that word. I say it because it's a word used to paint a picture or a description, because that word gets a little bit, overused, overdone, and a little spooked out. When you hear dark, contrary to belief, people always got gloom and doom and something really dreary and miserable. And as I grow on this path, dark is the complete opposite to that. To me, it's the real path of illumination. And when I say illumination, I'm talking about intellect, right? Because intellect is the light that we seek in the darkness. So when you say you're on a dark path, you're on a path of illumination, because you're seeking that real, true illumination one needs to spiritually evolve and grow, but one has to go into the dark. So you're on a dark path of sorcery, magic, witchcraft, uncovering the hidden gnosis of yourself, whatever terminology you want to use, but it's a very illuminating path. It's a very uplifting path. It's challenging, right? As I said before, if you're really on this path, you've never experienced or done things like you're doing if you're truly on this path. I'm not talking about if you're a fluffinator, okay? If you're trying to infuse fluffiness with the occult. Unfortunately, there's a lot of that bullshit going on for the last quite a few years, especially with YouTube. You got New Age occultists, you got Yoruba Santeria occultists, people mixing New Age shit, pagan, Wicca, Ifa, mixing all this shit, calling it the occult on the left-hand path, and it's not, okay? And I'm just going to be blunt and honest about it. Those things serve a purpose in a certain spectrum or arena, but it is not the occult. Okay? We have to be clear, because this term is used so loosely and so widely. And then there's people, outsiders, spectators, people who are just fans of certain teachers and platforms labeling shit occult. I mean, I can't tell you, it's not important who, what, and when, where, or why. I can't tell you how many emails I've gotten over the years where somebody said, oh, I came across such and such, and, you know, that's my first connection with the occult or the left-hand path. And I'm like, that's not occult or left-hand path. Okay? Not when you're infusing light side philosophy and fluffy bullshit with it. You got to be careful with that, because we always use the term on this path. I work with all the energy, right? Energy. We hear this everywhere you go in different ways. Energy. It's the energy. You're working with the energy this, energy that. Well, if you understand how energy vibrates, if you understand the frequency of energy, certain things are not good to mix. You can't take volatile spirits and very intense spiritual energy and mix it with something that is completely adverse to it, because what's going to happen is you're going to get a bad reaction, and that reaction happens within. And this is why I've been saying for years, you must let go of everything that serves you no purpose no more. And you have to question yourself, why, if you're on this path, which is a path of transformation and change, why are you still holding on to old shit that serves you no purpose, right? You know how many times I deal with this in consultations, people on this path, and they go, well, you know, I'm looking for some advice to be pushed in the right direction as far as setting up altars, starting my practice, ritual work. And then I'll ask them basic questions like, well, what do you got set up? What kind of work do you do? And then they'll start telling me crazy shit. They're working with angels, and they're working with the Orisha and this and that. And I'm like, this is the problem. Okay? By continuously holding on to that stuff, everything we do literally supersedes that. Okay? Everything we do is tapping into the divine mind that we are all created with. Because you're going to really find out as you start to navigate and go through this path, it's about really how strong the power of your mind is. If you paid attention to some videos I did a little while back about working magic any place, anytime, I'm trying to drop some jewels on you to get you to understand something. If you understand when I was breaking down how to create astral altars, right? All of this is done in the subjective consciousness of your mind. When you're working black magic or high forms of witchcraft and sorcery, you're going into your subjective consciousness when you're doing it. So if you're really linked in and connected like that on that level, on a powerful level, to the point where you could be sitting on a park bench and work magic. You could be sitting on an airplane flying, taking a flight somewhere. And I'm telling you this because I've done it in all the aforementioned places. You could be on a plane on your flight headed to your destination. I can use that flight, a period of time in that flight, to work a magical ritual. Okay? You can do it any place, any time. Because all time and space belongs to a magician. All energy is productive to a magician. What people are labeling good and bad energy, right? Which all comes from the same source anyway, regardless of what you're labeling it, it's more so what you're perceiving it as, right? And to show you how perception can be a motherfucker, and I've used this analogy many times over the years. Let's just say you're out and about, and let's just say you're coming out of a store or you're walking out of your house, and you see some dude getting pummeled and some dude's on top of him, punching him, beating the shit out of him. To show you how we automatically overreact and perceive things through reaction, you're automatically, for the most part, going to sympathize and empathize with the person on the bottom that's getting pummeled. But you may not know, maybe that person on the bottom that's getting pummeled did something that they deserved that shit. They could have did something fucked up. But because we are they've trained us or tried to train us to be reactionary beings, to go what we just see with this, we're automatically going to be programmed to think that the person on the bottom is the victim. And that's not usually the case. So perception plays a large role in how you perceive things. Okay? So these are the reasons why I don't teach banishing rituals. Because as I said before, energy cannot be destroyed. It can only be manipulated. Right? That's basic science, metaphysics. Go look it up. Okay? Really, when you get into in physics, energy can't be created or destroyed. That's just a very polite way to describe existence. Right? That's all that's really saying in a very polite way. See, to understand things like that, you're not going to gain that understanding from a three-dimensional perspective of a person, place, or thing. Because in your mortal human form, you're trying to identify and categorize everything based on being a person, a place, or a thing. And the answers and the understanding, or beyond the standing of that, is obtained outside of three-dimensional understanding. Okay? So, time and space encompasses everything that, or what they're calling time and space. As a powerful magician, you control what they are calling time and space. You use all energy that's productive within that so-called time and space. And there's something called time-space continuum, right? Which confirms what I'm talking about for years, cyclical time cycles. There is no such thing as a beginning and an end. It appears that way because when you get to the end of a cycle, you start to sense that a certain period, or what they're calling a time frame, is getting ready to be completed, and something new is coming. That's what everybody's sensing in the world right now with everything that's going on, right? That's what everybody's sensing in the world now the last 4 or 5 years with, the pandemic, the crazy shit that's going on in the news, mass shootings, killings, people losing their fucking mind, wars breaking out everywhere, right? It ain't got nothing to do with religion. I know religious folks like to go in the Bible, which is very easy to take any current event, anything going on in the news in the world. Of course, I can attribute that to the statement in the Bible, there'll be wars and rumors of wars and earthquakes. And I know everybody likes to go to, religious folks like to go to Matthew and some books in the Bible. I mean, it's very easy to do that. People have been doing that shit for years, since I was a kid, going back to the 80s. And they'll continue to do it long after I'm gone. And you're gone. Okay? But what we're seeing in real time, because some of us who are a certain age, we've lived through all these cycles and changes. Look how the world, just through technology, the weather, and events that have transpired, if you've been around and grew up in the 70s and the 80s and you're here now, I mean, that would apply to somebody who grew up in the 20s and 30s and 40s and was around when the 70s and 80s and 90s came. They could make the same statement. Okay? We're seeing it. Why are we seeing it? Because we're living it. We're experiencing it. And we also sense it and we feel it. Right? The world is changing. It's obvious. Okay? There's a different level of consciousness. I gotta be careful using that word. I don't really care for that word because that gets a little bit, fluffinated. But we see for the last 10 years or more, people definitely shifting to other paths of consciousness. Because the mainstream shit doesn't work no more. People aren't sold on it no more. People don't trust it anymore. So what we're calling, or what religious folks might be calling the end of the world, we're just at the end of a cycle of great change. That's it. And this is why I've always said for years, this is why you can't get wrapped up in conspiracy theories. Don't get caught up in all the shit in the news. No matter how many times I said it, I can't tell you again how many stupid ass emails I get with people. Did you see this on the news and such, this and that? And then they'll come with their conspiracy theory and they'll ask me, what do I think? First of all, what I think is fucking irrelevant. Number two, I ain't all into it on that level like some people are. Because at the end of the day, it doesn't change. Excuse me. it doesn't change anything that you're doing. Okay? Doesn't change the work you need to be putting in. It doesn't change the time, energy, and effort you need to be utilizing, focusing on yourself, your life, your family, doing what you need to do to master yourself. Regardless, it doesn't matter. Okay? So we need to stop feeding into it on that level, because that's the reason why they constantly pump shit like that out into the ethers. Because they want to create those conspiracies. They want to create those fears that's going to get people's radars and attentions up. So, like I said, this is why, all these aforementioned reasons why I'm telling you, many are called, but few are chosen on this path. Because I've watched people be on this path and then get sucked into the conspiracy theory. I remember, and I gotta remember this, and then people still talk about it, but not like they used to. I remember like late 90s, early 2000s, there was a period where everybody was talking about chemtrails. Oh, chemtrails, they're poisoning this, that, and the other. Listen, man, if they wanted to take motherfuckers out, they would have been doing it. They could poison the water supply real easy. Okay? And you don't need to drink it to get poisoned. If you're showering and it gets into the pores of your skin, you could still... I'm just going to show you why you don't get sucked into conspiracy theories. And then you can sit there and go say, well, if we don't just pay attention, we don't care, give a fuck, then how do we know this or that? I can't put that into words. When you have a certain spiritual a barrier around you is the best word I could describe. You're not really worried about that. Okay? Not gonna live my life in fear. Genetically modified food. Well, let me explain something to these so-called holy art thou vegans who turn veganism into a religion. Okay, veganism is a dietary choice. Yes, it can help with your spiritual path, but people have somehow over the years now equated being a vegan with being spiritual. All right, it's not. Regardless of how it might look, how you might interpret it, it's really not. But on another note, motherfuckers think because they're going to Whole Foods or Fresh Farm Market or any of these quote-unquote Whole Foods holistic places, and they think that they're eating top-of-the-line, top-notch organic food. Do your research. A couple years ago, okay, Whole Foods meat department was guilty of importing the same old raggedy-ass chicken that regular supermarkets get from places like China. It was being outsourced because they were buying it in a ridiculous amount, and they were packaging it and selling it as being 100% organic. Okay? Even if you're going into those places buying fruits and vegetables, they still have to put some type of chemicals and preservatives on it to transport it. Anything that's transported by truck that's so-called food has to be modified in order to keep the lifespan of it up so it can get to the shelves and get onto your table. True organic eating is when you're pulling it straight from the ground on land you have tilled and soiled and grown. You're taking it straight from the ground that you prepared and bringing it straight into your kitchen, onto your plate. Okay? If you're not doing that, sorry to bust your bubble, and I'm not saying that some of the products in those places, obviously, yes, are better than obviously regular shit you would get in the supermarket. Don't act like you're eating 100% organic, because there's a lot of processed shit that they sell in those stores that they're quote unquote labeling healthy. Like I said, when it comes to fruits, especially fruits, anything that doesn't have a seed is genetically modified. Okay, there's no such thing as seedless watermelon. There's no such thing as seedless grapes. All of that is genetically modified. I don't care what they're calling it, what they're labeling it. My point being, it's so easy for people to be manipulated and deceived. So people literally think because they go to Whole Foods or Fresh Food Market or whatever, any of these fucking places, you might be eating a little bit better, but anything you're buying packaged, anything that has to be transported on a truck, the shelf life of it has to be preserved. Okay? So again, if you don't have your own land, your own farm, and you're not pulling it straight from the ground of Mother Earth, straight to your kitchen table, then guess what, folks? You're not really eating any better than the regular motherfucker. Okay? Again, many are called on this path, few are chosen. You know what the hardest thing about being on this path is? Just dealing with the raw, uncut, diluted truth. See, that's what I do. And that's why some people may not agree with what I teach or how I teach. Many do. Many appreciate it, straight to the point style, because that's the only thing I know how. I'm not going to sugarcoat something. I'm not going to make it sound special and spooky, fuzzy and warm just to feed and fuel somebody's ego to make them feel good about themselves. I'm just going to tell it like it is. You don't have to agree with it. You're entitled to that. But I also don't have to change the way I approach and present it because I'm entitled to that. And as I said before, I don't understand why people go on other people's platforms and go into chat rooms and start debates, this and that. If you just don't like what a person's teaching, just don't go and don't be involved in their platform. I mean, me per se, I have very minimal problems with that over the years. Occasionally you get a knucklehead here and there, but as soon as you call them out or you want to have a face-to-face discussion with them, they're like little punk bitches because they like to hide behind avatars and keyboards and emails and chats, right? We live in a day and age of the social media gangster, right? We have a lot of social media gangsters. None of that shit used to go on back in the day. You want to know why? Because this social media shit didn't exist. Back then, it was done face-to-face, mouth-to-mouth, head up, person to person. There was none of this YouTube and Facebook. And see, people get away with a lot of shit today that they wouldn't be saying half of the shit they say today. They wouldn't be doing half of the shit they do today on social media and the internet that they would if they were with a person head up, face to face, because none of that shit went on. Because you get called out on bullshit back in the day. Okay? Like I said, there's a lot of know-it-alls and tough wannabes that hide behind the keyboard. But my thing is, if something don't resonate with me, I just don't fuck with it. That's all. And this is why I'm telling you, be careful of what you're tapping into when it comes to the occult. As I said before, I don't tell people what they should and should not do. That's not my job. I don't do that. I've said that a million times before. But I will give you advice, suggestions, and information. Do with it as you please. Okay? But I'm telling you, I've seen it so many times over the years. People mixing shit, getting themselves fucked up, and then they go right back to where they came from. That's the other side. You know how many times people come on this path? I'm talking about they come out the gate hard. They're doing this and that. Bam, they're so left-hand path in a cult. Then a year or two, they're back to being a Christian or a Muslim or a Jew. Because they hit some bump in the road that they couldn't handle, but try to find some justification or a way out. They had to find them a way out. They had to find them something that they didn't like this or that, or this, that, this, that, and the other. They had to find an out. They needed an out. Okay? Again, many are called on the path of the occult, the left-hand path, but few are chosen. And I'll say this last thing. This is why I just don't work with just anybody. Some of you guys know this. I've told you this in consultations and personal sessions and classes. I designed it a long time ago. If I'm working with you, if I'm doing a reading with you, it's for a reason. If you're taking my classes, it's for a reason. I've set it up where I won't allow people that are not supposed to be in that circle long term to be there long term. I'm not talking about, there's going to be people that come and go. That's normal. But I know right out the gate, this is a temporary stop for them. They're going to be here for X amount of time. Then I know there's some of you who've been around since day one. There's some of you on Patreon and YouTube, you've been rolling with me since damn near 2013. It's still going strong. And I'm not saying that because you're obligated. I'm not saying that because I'm patting you on the back and giving you kudos because you do that. I'm confirming what I'm saying. That's a sign that individuals are chosen. Not because they're just staying abreast with me and what I'm doing. I'm saying because not just because of that, I see them putting in the work. And most importantly, I see them getting the results and growing. These are the day ones, the diehards. And so you guys know who you are. You guys been rolling since day one. And there's nothing that puts more of a smile on my face when I see somebody's life changing on that level for the better. Because that's what this is all about. That's the purpose of being on this path. Okay? So again, say for the last time, many are called on this path, just like many other things in life, but few are chosen. That's just the reality. All right, other than that, again, if you need to reach out, if you want to book your 2024 spiritual forecast reading, your year-by-year breakdown of what to expect in 2024, or you want to book a reading or a consultation, shoot me an email, khnum19@gmail.com. If you want to sign up for the classes I do offer, go to patreon.com/Baniti, Baniti, tier 3. That's the tier you want to join. The direct link to the Primordial Chaos podcast, my contact email address to reach out to me for readings and consultations, the direct link to the Patreon page to sign up for classes, the Instagram, the Facebook page, all of that information on how to connect on all those levels, all of that is in the description box of this video. All right? Again, ask yourself, are you called or are you chosen? Only time will tell. Infernal blessings, and we will talk soon.